The former IMF chief Dominic Strauss-Kahn has gone on trial in France, accused of helping to procure sex workers for an alleged prostitution ring. Douglas Yates from the American University of Paris spoke to us about Mr. Strauss-Kahn's political rise and fall, and warning there's flash photography coming up.
This was a person who had both great intelligence, had become an inspector de finance, that is, a member of the technocratic elite, and had a personal life with a famous French television personality, a woman who read the news and did documentary films, and who brought him into the milieu of, if you will, the Paris elite. So he was someone with a foot in both worlds. His rise to the Socialist Party, like many of his generation, had been forged during the Mitterrand era, and around him had formed a faction of people who I think would be called outside as neoliberal. But he was a strand of the French Socialist Party who was interested in implementing the kinds of reforms we tend to associate with Sarkozy. In fact, when Nicolas Sarkozy presented himself for re-election, and people were polled to ask them who they think, what socialist should challenge Nicolas Sarkozy, a growing number of people in the polls showed Dominic Strauss-Kahn. He became the front runner for quite a long time. And it was all of a sudden by surprise that he was arrested in New York for Asitalo Diallo, for the case that the charges that would eventually be dropped, the criminal charges, the trial of Dominic Strauss-Kahn. And those were the events that led Francois Hollande to become president, in fact. And so after a small while, I think there was an effort to try to sound the waters and see if a Dominic Strauss-Kahn could come back, not only because he has an enormous number of competencies. He had been director of the IMF, for example. He had been Minister of Finance of France, but also were so disappointed with Francois Hollande.